Okay, Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us today. I'm Nazi Shabro, your moderator, and welcome to the Sindh Climate Webinar, Birds of Sindh and Revival of Biodiversity. This is our topic. So today we are talking about something that connects Sindh to places thousands of kilometers away, the Indus Flyway. Every year, migratory birds travel from Siberia and Central Asia towards the warmer wetlands and waterways of Sindh. But as our climate changes and our habitats, our wetlands and waterways come under increasing pressure, these birds are facing a very different environment. So today, rather than just talking about birds, we want to understand that what their journey tells us about our wetlands, our biodiversity, and the future of Sindh's natural ecosystem. And I'm really pleased to have two wonderful voices with us today. Syed Hasnain Raza, media entrepreneur, filmmaker, and founder of Fine Focus Film, and Ma'am Afia, one of Pakistan's prominent environmental journalists. Thank you for joining us today. Sir Hasnain, I would like to start with you. As a filmmaker, you have actually been able to observe and capture our natural world closely. When we talk about the birds of Sindh, what are we seeing and perhaps what are we missing?
Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. Thank you for this show and this invite. And then I'm really pleased to be on your show. So I'd like to start with this thing that, yes, I have filmed across Sindh for these two projects. One was Indus Delta Eco Region, landscape for WWF Pakistan, and the other one was the Indus Blind Dolphin project. So in both the projects, there were a lot of traveling involved. So Blind Dolphin was along the Indus River and on towards the Sakhar side, and then Sakhar Barrage and the canals coming out from it. But the other one, Indus Delta Eco Region, that involved almost I went to every wetland in Sindh, including Neredi Lagoon and Manchar Lake, Kenjar Lake, and all other lakes where we have these waterfowls, water birds, and migratory birds. The only one which I skipped or left due to shortage of time was Hamal Lake. So yes, there has been, I always say, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So there has been some good done by the Sindh Wildlife Department, which we have to appreciate given the resources wildlife departments get in Pakistan after everything, health, education, and in the end comes the wildlife department and their performance. So no doubt about that, they have done some good work. But the bad and ugly was the real challenge. And as per their own census and data, that migratory bird numbers fell from 1.2 million in 2023 to 603 and 900, like 6 lakhs and 3,900 in 2024. So they fell short almost by 45% just within 1 year. During COVID years, we may have seen some increase, or maybe after the COVID and then 2022 floods as well. But afterwards, that there has been a decline, and this is almost nearly 45%, 50%. So birds disappear on one of the Indus flyway, the oldest flyway, and then the migratory routes that could be linked to Indus Valley civilization, that could be linked to Indus River, that could be linked to Karakoram, Himalaya mountain ranges. From all these across these lands, the birds come to Pakistan after such a long journey, and then having this huge amount of birds being lost due to any given reasons, either it's hunting, it's climate change, it's deteriorating conditions of our wetlands, and what we have done to our wetlands, and rapid human expansion, urbanization. All these things come to aid in diminishing of these birds and migratory birds. It's really sad because we did heard about Recharge Pakistan, and despite doing any favors to any government or political parties, I thought that was one project that should have continued, or if if it is still continuing, it's not there. We didn't see. It was announced with a lot of zeal and enthusiasm, but that project is nowhere to be seen, and that could have been one of the I would say the best remarkable thing in in the whole Pakistan climate change and everything, and then the wetlands have the capacity, as we see. You work with mangroves, so same goes for the wetlands for carbon credits and everything. But I don't know where that project was lost in the files or somewhere else. So that could have been something that could have helped us to mitigate climate change and also get more number of birds back again, because nature always needs the slightest of the chance to revive, and it heals itself. But I guess we are not ready to give that chance to nature yet. So I do have some other facts and figures, but for now, this could be the starting point. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for giving us so much information about this topic. Ma'am Afia, I would like to come. Now, Sindh has some of the most important wetlands and bird habitats in Pakistan. What are the biggest threats these habitats are facing today due to climate change?
So I'll just take a step back and remind everybody that climate change is a threat that has been engineered by human action. So, I mean, the science is settled on this, and this is anthropogeny. We are living in an Anthropocene. So, which means that humans are the biggest threat. The human imprint on nature is a threat, the way it is expanding, as very rightly pointed out by Hasnain. And I think this is why we have to be very careful that and remember that this earth was not made only for humans. We are one of the species who have a right over the resources and over the natural habitat. And if we appropriate all the resources for ourselves, then our own survival is at stake, because there's a reason why it's called ecosystem, because it is not linear. It is cyclical, and any part which is taken out from it impacts humans as well. So the sooner the humans, realize that and take cognizance of it and alter their current lifestyle, the better, because we depend on the other species. And as this program is your webinar is specifically for the birds, and we are talking about the birds of Sindh. So Hasnain has already mentioned most of the larger wetlands that he has been lucky enough to visit. I visited some of them. I mean, Haleji also was a name that was missed. Haleji is a bird sanctuary. It's a bird watching point. It sort of invites people to become bird enthusiasts and become vested in their welfare of this species, which God has gifted us. And we must also remember that it's not just the migratory birds. Yes, Indus flyway is there, which brings these birds to Pakistan. We also have our resident birds, which are also at threat at the hands of the humans. The kind of poaching and the kind of that machismo you see, that people in this day and age of social media brazenly display their catch over their vehicles, or wherever they've gone for hunting, and they show it off as some great achievement. I think it's a shameful thing. And it's also a failure of communications, maybe on part of my fraternity, who probably should have been talking more about it, to make people realize that this is not an achievement. This is harm that is being done. And just to allay Hasnain's fears, Recharge Pakistan is alive and well. It was, yes, announced with a lot of fanfare, but then we were hit by the 2022 floods, and all attention was focused to get those millions of people just sitting out there in the open in three of Sindh's districts, which were, inundated. So the entire finances at that time were repurposed. And it wasn't until, I think, last year, or I think end of 2024, that it was finally announced that WWF is a custodian. The GCF funding came through, and GCF, the money came. So the funding, the acceptance of the proposal is one thing, and the arrival of the finances is another. So it is now taking shape. They have, the strategy is there. The team has been, because I've met those people, I can see the kind of work they're starting to do. So it'll take a while for its impact to be shown and for it to come down geographically to this area, because Manchar Basin, Manchar Lake and the entire basin is actually one of the major parts of Recharge Pakistan's rehabilitation efforts. So the other thing that I would like to lament on is the way living Indus, which we thought would, be the be all end all of all our problems around the Indus, and the not just the river, the people who live around the river, the habitat around the river, and the biodiversity around the river would be, revived through that program. That had to take a backseat again for the same reasons. But now a lot of things that were under the Living Indus priorities are now going to be addressed through the National Adaptation Plan. So it's not been sort of shelved completely. Yes, there has been a delay. But again, even at that time, it was said that we have to, this is an elephant that we have to eat bit by bit. We need, every project has to be a separate thing. It's not one project, it's going to be a multiplicity of projects. So I hope that, the fears that we are seeing about the habitat loss and the loss of biodiversity because of that will be addressed through this.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Afia, for shedding light on every single problem that our Sindh is facing regarding climate change. And I think you actually covered everything. My next question is for Sir Hasnan. You work in media and filmmaking. What makes a story about birds and biodiversity powerful enough to capture the public attention so they can take some steps?
So, birds, if we talk about birds and then we talk about Thar Parker and Nagar Parker. So one is the peafowl, peahen and the peacock. And if you see the work of art through the Mughal era and beyond, you would see it depicted in paintings and miniatures, and then that's like representing with the Mughals, and then it's a kind of thing when we go to farmhouses and then people who love to have birds caged or somehow to showcase that's one bird. So just imagine the significance of this one species, that how people want that, how it has turned into art and everything, and then it become the representation of Sindh and Nagar Parker as well, and the rest of the Pakistan, other places as well. So yes, this day and time, storytelling is very important, specifically to birds and biodiversity. I would also like to mention this recent documentary by Jawad Sharif, which is Moklani, and then it's on Mohanas, the descendant of Indus Valley civilization in the Manchar Lake, their lifestyle and how these bird people. They have this lived connection with the bird. We're not talking about poaching and they catch the bird and tame it, but it's an indigenous practice. Yes, there could be some things that are not, you can say, appropriate things while they tame the birds. But again, it's an old traditional practice. So birds have lived throughout our historical context, whether it's our art, it's our media, it's other things. So we have seen them there. And in Pakistan, when I came back from Malaysia, most of the wildlife photographers are bird watchers. So in globally, if you go globally, so there are wildlife photographers who are expert of mammals, and then there are photographers who are expert of birds. So since in Pakistan, the mammals are very scattered and hard to get. You have to go to like to get the brown bears and snow leopard. That's a very hard kind of job. Even bird watching is not easy in Pakistan. So most of our photographers community and the pictures that are coming in our groups are amazing birds of Pakistan. There are more than 700 species of birds in Pakistan, and then in Sindh there are some amazing birds. We have mallards, plovers, snipes, cormorants, cranes, storks, and many other birds. In 2011, we had, 2024 and 25, we had Asian woolly neck stork, red-necked ibis, black-headed ibis, black-headed garbe, Indian cormorant, and jack snipe. So these are the 11 species, oriental darter, pygmy goose, which we recorded in Sindh for after, I won't say the first time, but after a very long time. So yes, as I said earlier, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So storytelling, bird watching, and biodiversity goes hand in hand. I remember my first project with WWF back in 2012. That was Wetlands Day project, and in that project there was this huge amount invested on the birds, taking their photos, making their videos, and that data still remains. And that was one of the most detailed data any NGO in Pakistan has ever had so far of birds in Pakistan. And then all of these birds, it's a very simple thing. You go to a wetland during that season and you find the birds. So I don't see that coming in the form of storytelling on our mainstream media, but hats off to our digital media and our content creators and photographers. If you follow them on Instagram, there are many of them who are doing some amazing work, amazing work for raising awareness on birds. They are from Sindh as well. They are from Punjab as well in different parts. And also, some of the photographers are specifically focusing on the mangroves as well and the birds in the mangroves. So that's really interesting. So as this time and era, I always say, thanks to those who created this Facebook and Instagram for us, that we don't have to beg to these media owners to please get our stories online on their channels. We have the independence to publish our stories and the amazing work we do with wildlife and bird life in Pakistan. So storytelling is really important tool, and we are getting a lot of photos coming out from Sindh and wetland of Pakistan about birds.
So Asnan, very well said. And I think today technology is actually helping us to literate more about it. Okay, ma'am, you mentioned that Living Indus has been delayed and that some of its priorities are now being incorporated into National Adaptation Plan. How can we ensure that these priorities are actually implemented on the ground rather than remaining policy commitment? And what mechanisms are needed to make sure that local communities, especially those living along the Indus Belt and in the Delta, are directly involved in the benefit from these rehabilitation efforts?
So I would like to actually comment on what Asnan said, but later I'll answer your question first. So like I said, Living Indus is not a project itself. It's an umbrella, and that is what it was conceived as even before. And now it is going to be in a similar way under the adaptation plan. You have, because it's not a one size fits all. Indus starts from, all the way from Kargil and comes down to Kharochan. It's spanning so many different geographies, so many different ecosystems. So each place and each on a need to be basis, and some places probably forestry will get more importance. In some other places, the other revival of biodiversity. In some other places, the community needs will supersede all these things. So those have to be designed as projects on what region will get which help. So that is what the adaptation plan is going to look at. And for that, the word that is usually used is bankable projects. You can't have a wish list. There has to be a financial element on how that money is going to help, how that money is going to be sustainable. So, in Pakistan, I don't think enough emphasis has been given to train people on designing such bankable projects. There are very few people in Pakistan who can do that. And those who have been able to do it, they've been able to get you can see the carbon credits project for the Sindh Forest Department. That's the biggest achievement that has been gone out from Pakistan in the past 2 years. Coming back to what Hasnan was telling about, narrating about the storytelling. Yes, they're excellent bird photographers. We had an exhibition here about birds of Sindh, and there were these young men and women who get up early in the morning. They go to these far off places and they stay there. They take these beautiful photographs. Many of them have been displayed at the Sindh Wildlife Office in Karachi. They can be seen over there. And also, we are, yes, absolutely, there are pages where we can view them, we can learn more about them. And also, I would urge people, since we are on the topic of Sindh, to follow the pages and the handles of Sindh Wildlife, because what they do is they don't just put up a picture, they give you an education. It's like an pages from an encyclopedia. So hats off to Sindh Wildlife Department, who not just tells that, okay, Sindh has this bird or that bird, and these are the migratory birds, and they show people and they give the information, they give the history, they give the biological history and everything, all kind of knowledge. Plus, they show the good work being done. You see, again, it's related to our, this saying is related to the birds, the jungle mein mor nacha kisne dekha. Unless good work is seen to be done, people do not get inspired, then you do not, take it seriously. They have given cameras, I mean, they've given telephones with cameras. Now, of course, they are the norm, but a lot of people still have feature phones. But they have taught their field staff how to document whatever they are doing. If they are rescuing dolphins, that is documented and then that is put up on social media. They are releasing poached birds. They go for their raids. They capture the people who have been responsible for that illegal activity. They are shown as releasing birds into their actual habitat. Birds as well as other, you have so many of these reptiles which people capture for monetary benefit, and people have these strange ideas about them bringing some health benefits, but they show this happening. So that is very inspirational. Now, I'm so happy that Hassan mentioned Thar, because I have a story there. And there is this strange, maybe not strange, I guess it's innate in human nature that we like beautiful things. So anything that's not beautiful doesn't really get the attention, despite it having more benefits. And peacock is very beautiful. People love it. Yes, some people cage it, but many people don't. They also, keep it in the open. But Tharparkar is a place where it is revered. There are places where, by many kilograms of feed is given to them voluntarily by the communities every single day to them. So they are not harmed. They are taken care of. Whenever there is a disease outbreak, they're the first ones to put the word out so that help can be sought. But there is another bird, Tharparkar, which wasn't liked by people because it's not beautiful. It's considered to be actually ugly, and that is the vulture. But the benefits and the importance of vulture for our ecosystem is something that needs to be talked about. I belong to an organization which implemented twice that project for vulture conservation. And that was also through community interaction. So anything that you do, if you want it to be sustainable, it has to have the buy-in from the local community. Now, that Thar is a green desert. And it is also a land where we have got these pastoralist communities which have a large number of livestock. That livestock, obviously for health reasons, it is given certain injections. One of the components of that injection is diclofenac, which has been banned everywhere else in the world, but banned things continue here. And when the vultures used to feed on the carcasses of the animals which were injected with that medicine, they would suffer liver failure and they would die. Now, the diminished vulture population meant the spread of disease, because then the rotting carcasses were just lying there. If the vultures are there, and I have myself seen the vultures go through an entire donkey in an hour. That I saw in vultures that were being bred in captivity in Changamanga by WWF. But I've seen how they can completely strip that carcass. There's no question of it decomposing and spoiling the environment or spreading disease. And by great effort through community help, the vulture population of Nagar Parkers specifically, that's where they are mostly found, has increased. So we have the census figures were taken over 2 to 3 years of the project. So it's not just the beauty; it's the importance of each species has its own role in nature to play, and that is what we need to remember. This is very important because people, they'll go kill snakes. So this is also another thing that has happened, and this is again a story from Tharparkar, that we were interacting with the communities over there, which were doing agriculture, rain-fed agriculture. It thrives over there, and because the roads have been built all the way to Nagar Parkar into distant parts, the tractor has reached there. So they have been able to level a lot of land and bring it under agriculture. But what they were complaining was that there's certain rodents have increased in population and they are ruining their crops. And then we had to explain to them that when you run the tractor and you level the land, you have these bulldozers as well and heavy equipment, you are killing the native species of snakes. And when the snakes are being killed, their food supply is increased. So there are more rodents now. So this is the cycle of nature. When humans mess with it, they face the wrath of nature. I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for highlighting this very important problem in Sindh. Sir Hassan, I have a follow-up question. You have described birds as part of our cultural heritage, but sometimes, as said ma'am Afia, cultural traditions can sometimes conflict with conservation, or like sometimes people, they go for bird hunting. So where should we draw the line between respecting cultural practices and protecting wildlife?
So if you're specifically talking about hunting or you're talking about in general?
Everything, if people say in the name of cultural heritage, for example, now
Yes.
maybe
So,
zoo, we have Rano. Have you heard about Rano?
I get it. So yes, I came across on the banks of Indus River, there was this guy which had this gray heron, and he took out his eyes and it was tied to the boat. And I said, why are you doing it? So it said, because when the other flock fly from the sky, it will give the call and they will come down and catch them. And I said, what will you do after you catch them? He said, Sai, ye to halal hai aur hum isko khayenge. मैंने कहा, is it tasty to eat? कहता है बस ठीक है. मैंने कहा, why don't you go and try chicken from the poultry, or try fish, or go for mutton or beef that's halal and available in the market. So the next question came that Sai, hum to gareeb hai, we are poor. So that thing kind of shook me from inside, that I don't know if it is poverty really, or is it the cover of the religion we are using to kill everything that's halal and try to eat that. On Astola Island, one of our guides said, I was filming this Indian roller. So he said there were two of them, there's only one left. I said, where did the other one go? He said, I caught it and मैं उसको पका के खा गया. So I was in shocks again. How could you eat an Indian roller? Just it's not about halal anymore. He said, then I asked him, what else you have? He said, I've tried a seagull, I've tried this, and it was like not, I couldn't digest what even he was saying. So this is something that that really needs to go, and that's where the interfaith and the faith for climate and faith leaders should come up, and they have to talk this in the Jummah sermons, in the Jummah prayers, about these little things which could be proven from the Hadith and from Quran as well. There are many books animals in Islam, birds in Islam, hunting in Islam. The other thing is colonial era and our kingdoms. We had big and small kingdoms, and then kings and maharajas and rajas. So hunting came naturally. So they can do the hunting, but the lower end people, they cannot do the hunting. So it's kind of become an elite sport that transferred after Pakistan came into existing. So I have 100 acres of land. I have my big farm. I have a small wetland. 1 year, I just feed the birds. Next year, I call my friends from UK, USA, from Pakistan. The birds will come, and we are sitting with guns, and we just kill as many birds. And then when asked, so it's my private land. Nobody can do anything about it. So these are the practices deep rooted in our society in terms of faith, in terms of culture, in terms of our, I would say, elite capture as well. Whoever has the stakes has some extra rights. It's not rights, but extra kind of privileges he enjoys, and the birds and wildlife comes under that. And we have seen many such stories. So we have to come together, and step by step, we need to address these issues, that it's not just about being halal or haram, and not just being about hunting. So, for example, when people go on Hajj, or when they do a niyat for going on Hajj, they cannot hunt. So now we go on by plane. Earlier it was 6 months of traveling. So at that time, when people used to travel from one country to another country, there was long travel involved, and that's why hunting was a thing. Now that everything also that's consumerism as well. So when the things are available, and then, for example, if I really want to hunt and eat a duck, a migratory duck which has came to Sindh, as a single person, how many ducks can I eat in one sitting or in 2 days? Maximum 1 to 2 ducks. So why I am hunting 1,000 ducks in a day? I know the people. I don't want to name them, but this has happened in Pakistan, where people have permit of hunting 4 ducks and they hunt 200 ducks. And they are not answerable to law. They're not answerable to anyone. And I'm talking about the whole Pakistan, not just the Sindh. So these are the practices that are deep rooted. One of the photography practice, I told one of my good colleague and friend, Dr. Usman. So this happened to me when I was in Germany and Austria. I was lucky enough to have doing photography along this guy. He was 64 years old, bird life enthusiast. So we were sitting in his car, and he used to take me different places in Austria. Then we crossed the border. We went to the wetlands in Hungary, and we were sitting in the car, and then we could easily photograph and film the falcons and the goshawk and the other birds, and they didn't even move. When we do this kind of practice in Pakistan, we have to work very hard to get a good shot of a bird. Either it's a bird of prey or songbirds or big birds. We have to get very close, very silently, and even slightest of sound make them run away. So I came to my conclusion, because it's in the mind of the birds in Europe that nobody's going to hunt them. So they are sitting, and the photographer can make as many photos from a very close distance. And then some birds, yes, they do fly, but most of the birds, they don't even move when you are filming and photographing them in Europe. In Pakistan, it's the other way around. And birds have came to know that this sound of car, bike, human being, the sound of the click is a threat to me, and the bird fly away. So that's because it's been happening since generations. And the birds are now used to that way, that when they hear the sound of a bike or a car or a person coming nearby, they just fly away. They don't see it's a photographer or it's a hunter. They just fly away. So these things are deep rooted in our culture, in our society, in our religion as well. Not just the religion part, but the religion part is used as a cover, and there has been no ownership to come forward by Islamic scholars and tell them that, look, this needs to change. Also, the horse is halal, the deer is halal, but then again, the judgment and then the restriction came that it's a beautiful animal. Horse is much more to be used for other purpose, for traveling, for other purposes back then. So that's why it's not to be hunted. So it doesn't mean that everything that's halal, it should be killed and should be going to our stomachs and on our dining tables. So we need to come over this mentality, and our survival of wetlands depend on the survival of these bird life and migratory birds and the birds that are indigenous to our land and our wetlands.
Very well said, Sarasnan. My next question is for Ma'am Afia. Could bird watching and ecotourism become an economic opportunity for communities in places like Nagar Parkar and Indus Delta? Whenever I go to Nagar Parkar, I have seen beautiful pigeons going here and there, and I feel like if they want, they can turn into good economic opportunity for them. Do you believe that this is something we need to do, or the government should do about it?
That's absolutely correct, and this is the shift that we need. But as Hasnan mentioned, it takes behavior change communication first. You have to change the mindset of people to move away from this very destructive, rapacious kind of tourism that we are seeing everywhere, not just in Sindh. And in fact, in Sindh, it's not as much as you've seen. The northern areas have been ruined by it. And Nagar Parkar attracts the maximum number of tourists. Even now, I think the figures have come in of, in August, especially if the long weekend comes, you will see people from every part of Sindh going there to Nagar Parkar. And it's just one narrow road, and they even experience traffic jams over there. So these are things that, we need to take care of, because if you're even looking from the economic aspect, a lot more can be earned through ecotourism without harming nature than through brick and mortar or other structures. Even the kind of places where you want to put up the tourist can be in sync with nature. So in a natural surrounding, if you can provide comfortable living, it's more attractive. People go and live in the normal kind of hotels anywhere else. People go to these far out places to be close to nature. So yes, definitely. And the respect for birds, you do find that respect for birds in at least in Tharparkar, across Tharparkar, you don't see people harming birds at all. But from what Hassan is saying, yes, you do see it everywhere else. So that requires stringent application of law, the enforcement, until the behavior change kicks in. So as far as the captive audience and all religious leaders have before them at the time of whichever religion they belong to, they should leverage that. And I will refer you to two books that I know of. I'm sure there must be many others, and I hope people will, maybe in their comments give reference. One is Islam and Conservation by WWF. It's in Urdu, English, and Sindhi. So that's a very good book which gives out all these informations. And there was another book published by IUCN Pakistan, and that was from its Balochistan program, and it was called Jumme ke Khutbat. So Friday's sermons was actually compiled by the ulama in Balochistan. They certified it that everything is authentic, and all they did was, they took Quranic ayat, which tell you to be, to how to be with nature, not to waste water, be kind to the animals, not to cut trees unnecessarily, all those things. And they are there. And not only that, they gave an undertaking that out of all the Fridays, one Friday in a month will be dedicated to a khutbah from this. So I think this needs to be propagated more. More people need to be on board. They need to spread this information. Maybe WWF and IUCN can republish this book and give it in schools and in masajids, not just, that it was Balochistan program, so it was only delivered there. And similarly, I think WWF's book, especially because it is trilingual, so it will help a lot more. as far as this, there's another thing. There are so many things that we can motivate people with. We in Sindh are proud of being Mehman Nawaz, of treating our guests with kindness, with open-heartedness. So many of our migratory birds are our guests, and there has been rampant killing of these guest birds as well. So if we put a cultural touch to this, and we can tell people, okay, this is not what Sindh is known as, this is not what we do. So we need to also teach our children, because unfortunately it's not just that what I mentioned earlier, that something is beautiful so you are attracted, and if something is not good looking, that animal is not generally the attitude is not very friendly towards animals. What do we see kids do in the roadsides or in the lanes? They will pick up a stone and throw it at a dog, even if it's minding its own business and just sitting around doing nothing, harming no one, not barking at anyone. And then when it barks, so then everybody says the dogs should be either killed or moved away or and then we see this very, very inhumane practice of culling dogs. So there are humane ways of reducing the population of dogs. So similarly for birds, how many birds can you eat? How big a feast are you going to have of your friends? How many? They are killed in thousands. You see them displayed, and it's such a obnoxious sight that how can you even respect people who do this as a sport? And he's right that, I mean, just because it is halal, have they read up that there's something that sport hunting is not allowed? Hunting was allowed when you needed it for food. And there are so many alternates available now. So, I mean, I don't know how these people cherry pick these things that this is halal, so we will do this. But there are conditions to something being halal. Read up those as well. And unfortunately, nobody gets to that because that goes against the, again, elite capture, the privileges. So I think there has to be some other way of enforcing. And you're very right. There's hardly any budget allocated to the wildlife and environment and forest departments who need this, not just to, for their staff, but to be able to enforce the laws. So the new laws, I'm happy to share over here, does give the department teeth, but it requires resources. It requires the human resource, which is trained enough, which is competent enough, which is able to get its writ accepted and enforce it. Because, the more these youngsters who have been bringing us these beautiful pictures of birds of Sindh, the more we need to realize that this is an asset that we need to take care of. Even your migratory birds, when they come in the winter, they are a joy to the eyes. And that itself, can be the trigger for your ecotourism. So we need to focus on, if you want to, make money with the lens rather than the gun.
Absolutely right about it, ma'am. You have actually highlighted that what we need to do now, especially preserve the nature and also help those people who are helping us documenting these. Sir Hassan, I have a question for you. Photographers are often documenting species and environmental problems, and they remain invisible to policymakers. Should the government create a formal platform or funding mechanism to support their work? Because it's really not easy. Even for one picture, they are investing like 24 hours for that one picture and more than that. So how they can support the documentation for conservation policy?
Very well question, and very important question. I would start your answer with this. There was this documentary, Path of the Panther. So, which got a Jackson Wild Award in 2022. Yes. So I saw the documentary there and met the filmmaker. It took 3 years to make them that documentary, and they were talking about panthers, and they would be diminished and dislocated from their natural habitat. because of this highway that was passing through Florida. And during that 3 years of documentary, the filmmaker went to every ranch owner in Florida and asked them to raise their voice in the Congress. They got the senator, and then they all came together and they make that highway move way away from that natural habitat of the panther. And the bill was approved, and at that success, the documentary closes. So there's this 3 years of effort of one filmmaking team trying to save the panthers in Florida and asking the ranch owners and the farm owners that we can have this highway move further away. Nothing would harm humans, but it would save our panthers and it would save our biodiversity. And that became a success story. So again, these success stories can be done in Pakistan as well, as ma'am said, Living Indus Project. So now Living Indus Project is the one that is on the paper. The other one is that is on the ground. And the third one is that whoever heard about Living Indus Project, he searched on YouTube, he searched on Google, and he get to see some videos, some photographs about that project, and came to know about that project. So that's where we as a media professionals, media and communication experts, we come in to build a narrative. We are talking about behavior change. That's not possible about building the narrative around biodiversity, nature, and wetlands, and why we need our wetlands. So this is very important that policymakers need to understand that we have tons and tons of policy papers in the files, hundreds and thousands of kilograms of files. This many more and more dust is being there on those files now. But once a documentary, once a film, once a audio-visual story would always remain on digital platforms, would always remain on your archives, would always be a good thing to have it display on the COPs on Pakistan booth, that this is the Living Indus Project, this is the work done in the form of a film you can see on COPs, on UN General Assembly, inside Pakistan embassies in UK on 23rd March, in USA on 14th of August. So that's where you need to show Pakistan. Just take the example of India. You're talking about ecotourism, and just through media campaigning through media, the Gujarat state of India was earning $2 billion a year for eco and wildlife tourism. Before that, these figures are before from COVID, 2019. If you have seen those videos where they have Incredible India project, and they're talking about wild asses from Gujarat. So now the Indian side have wild asses, Pakistani side has nothing. If they're in Gujarat, they should be in our lagoons, Naredi Lagoon, in Badin side as well, but they're not there. And then obviously hunted, and their habitats are not protected. So they all thrive on the other side of the border, but not on our side. So to see those wild asses, the filmmakers, photographers come from abroad. So for example, a BBC wants to do a documentary on Indian wild asses in Gujarat. They would have to go a $10,000 plus permit from the tourism department and the wildlife department. And then they would be bound that you have to have 40% of local employment. You would hire a local guide, you will hire a local photographer, you hire local staff for this one documentary project you are doing. What we have in Pakistan, the permit fee and everything is there, but nobody's willing to come to Pakistan. And all what we are doing is we are doing out of our own expense. I am sitting as a live example. I'm running Pakistan International Wildlife and Eco Film Festival. For past 3 years, I've announced the third year edition this year. And it's been really hard to find funding. I've got a lot of support from Pakistani photographers. And I have asked many of them, can you bring your photos in the form of videos? I've given them a little bit of tips and tricks that how they can make a video out of their journey. So if they are going to Haleji Lake for a photo, a 1 day or 2 day photo trip, so they can turn it into a video, and that 5-6 minute video could be screened at our film festival. And that's how it grows. It goes out of Pakistan, then slowly and gradually we kind of increase our talent. We improve our skills in video storytelling on this bird life, wildlife, and biodiversity. And that's where we are very, very relevant and important in this present day and time for all the policymakers, that this is not just a policy paper now. Everything that's actionable, that needs a storytelling on it as well.
Very well said. I think you have highlighted the power of documentary and photography, but the more important thing is to support them, help them, accommodate them. Okay, so we have Yasser Munir. He is also a wildlife photographer. Would you like to add something, please? You can unmute yourself, Yasser. Yes. Am I audible, Yasser? Okay, Yasser has asked a question in the chat box. Ma'am, would you like to answer this question?
So I have actually answered to him, because I was looking at him, and I'm a great fan of his work. I mean, he's an excellent photographer, and he was also part of that Birds of Sindh exhibition. So he is talking about the restoration of the Ramsar sites. Now that's a big ask, but that's an important ask, because we've gotten into the habit of signing treaties and MOUs and conventions, and then not doing enough to meet up to their expectations. And this is the problem over here. And he's mentioned that he wanted to, I think he wanted to write spoonbill. Am I right, Yasser? Because it's not spelled that way. Halejiga. So there are many species which are no longer accessible to them because of the degradation of the habitat. And this is what we started our talk with, that you can expect birds. I mean, the flyway is fine, but they don't fly all the way from Siberia and out of Pakistan in one go. They come and rest in Pakistan, but they need that kind of a place where they can land. And if our wetlands keep disappearing or becoming degraded or becoming polluted, then that's not where they will keep coming. And this is why you've seen the drop in the numbers, which was quoted earlier. So I don't know what, I mean, obviously I can't answer how can they be restored. We all know how they can be restored, but who will do it? That's again a few big projects which can ensure. And it also requires a voice from the citizens who need to understand the importance of these things and bring that pushback, because that there has to be that pushback or the realization that these things are important for us. They are important, and then you can raise your voice with your local MPA, MNA, take it to the parliament. This is how actually things are done in the civilized countries. You have the forums, but then once you get those forums to understand what is important for the people and what is important for the country and the environment, maybe then when there is a critical mass within the parliament, whether it is the Sindh Assembly or whether it is the National Parliament, that is when some things, and that is how some things have changed. That is how some laws have been framed. And I agree that there are policies which are gathering dust, but the showcasing of some successes, even if in a small place, are what can, start that chain reaction, which will get the people to move in the right direction, get the policymakers to allocate resources. I mean, if the resources are not there, it doesn't matter how good a policy. Do you know that our wetland policy was formulated and completed in 2008? It didn't become an act. It still hasn't. So 2008, we are in 2026, halfway beyond 2026. So a lot of good things are in that. It was a very massive program that was launched to create that data that went into the policy. It was never implemented. So this is something what he's saying, once you start showcasing things, and how will they showcase without resources? They cannot be expected to go out and do this on their own resources. Not everybody is able to afford this expensive equipment. The equipment isn't so they're not using the mobile. I mean, I'm a photographer. I'm a photographer because of this. But they use professional equipment, and professional equipment to be able to edit and upload it. So that expertise needs to be developed, and there needs to be a pool, some foundation, into which they can tap for resources. Going out into the field costs a lot of money. Staying there in the field costs money and resources. So, and also, there's no insurance for them when they go out in the they go out into the field. Do they know what can happen? There's so many threats over there, human as well as through the wildlife. They may be going to shoot birds, but birds are not the only species over there. There's other wildlife which can harm the photographers. They don't have anything that they can save themselves with, especially way out into the boonies. So all of this, to create this community which is doing great service out of its own passion. That passion needs to become maybe the profession which can give them proper returns. And that is how, when it becomes a professional community, then they will be able to showcase it at international, maybe film festivals or other. And there are foundations across the world which support these things. Unfortunately, we don't have one within our country. We have only a couple of INGOs which support this kind of work, but their funds are also limited. So I think there should be a forum of professional photographers and videographers who do wildlife photography and videography, and they can be tell each other about maybe some competition that is coming, some fellowship that is available. That is how we as environmental journalists work. We share with each other that this fellowship is available. Obviously, fellowships have a certain criteria. It's not as if en masse anybody can enroll for it. But there are foundations in this world which support this kind of work. Share their names, share their criteria, help build your own fraternity's capability to come up and meet that criteria so they can benefit from them. So I think you need a platform. You need a proper formal platform of all photographers and videographers who are doing this, I would say, a service to the environment in the country.
Thank you so much to our esteemed speakers, Ma'am Afia, Sir Hassan, for sharing your valuable insight and experience with us today. This discussion has reminded us that protecting Sindh's biodiversity is not only the responsibility of governments, but also conservation organizations. It's a shared responsibility of community, media, young people, and all of us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for today, for your valuable time.
Thank you for having me, and I'm so happy that this topic was chosen. Usually you don't get to hear these things.
We are really privileged to have you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you so much.